You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW and 106.1 KZCC Conroe and worldwide on the irlonestar.com.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Extension Hour here at irlonestar.com, Lone Star Community Radio. We've got today with me Bob Daly. How are you doing, sir?
Good.
Doing all right?
Yeah, doing great.
Good. Enjoying the coolness today?
I like the coolness. We needed a little rain, but I think we're going to get more than we expected.
Yeah, that's for sure. Lately, with all the heat and everything that's been going on, there have been some turf grass issues and in fact, about 90% of the stuff that we get at the extension office that comes in, phone calls and things like that, has all been turf issues and turf problems lately. So we're going to do a little bit of talking about that and some of the like chinch bugs, sod webworms, take-all patch, those types of things. So we're going to look at some of that today, and hopefully if I can get my little presentation going and we can maybe even project some pictures and stuff
that'd
so people
be great.
can see it.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
We can do that. So I just want to compliment you. The Woodlands is doing a great job as far as the water conservation. All the stuff that y'all do, sending out the emails, telling people how much to water this week.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's fantastic, and I get those emails.
Yeah.
I
put you on the list. Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
It's good. Today we had a member of some of the county staff come by the office, and they were going to clean out our gutters today just to make sure our water went through.
Right. Sure.
Problem is that everything on all of our buildings, all the rainwater harvesting, it goes into those tanks.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So they were like, wow, well, I guess we don't need to do that. Nope. And we got diverter valves on it where you can clean them out and everything else.
Yeah. I mean, what do you have now? You have 9 or 10 rainwater harvesting tanks over there? Big ones.
Yeah. And we just added, we had an Eagle Scout. He needed to do a project.
Right.
His dad actually came in. We were talking, he was talking about his property and how he wanted to do some things. He said, I'm having a hard time running water, but I want to get, some stuff for wildlife. And I talked to him about, wildlife guzzlers and, you can build these things on like a sled and put these barrels and make a little tin roof and make
drag them out there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he kind of lit up when I told him that. And the next thing I know, his son contacts me. He says, can I do my Eagle Scout project like this?
That's a great project.
And guess what? We got 2 of them.
Really?
Yep. We got 2 of them that we'll be highlighting at the extension
So
office
you
now.
can do some demonstrations out there.
That's
It would
right.
be really great for farmers and ranchers.
Yep, exactly. So it's going to be kind of a neat addition to our office. So
sounds great.
Yeah.
That sounds really nice.
So everybody's staying busy and happy and doing everything right, I guess. So
I think it's going well as far as I can see over there. It's going well.
Did you get water at the store?
Yeah,
at any of the stores. Did you get water just in case you lose electricity?
Oh no, I didn't because we have a 5-day reserve of diesel, and we'll be pumping water. We're not going to have any shortages of water.
No shortage of water.
No shortage of water.
In fact, I saw the generators are going to come on, and y'all got it bypassed, which is great. That really helps as far as doing it. So, we can kind of get started, I guess. And have you been seeing some of these issues? And
I have. I got a lot of residential areas that they have management groups that kind of maintain those areas, and I've been getting calls from those guys and going out there and looking. And yes, I've been seeing some issues. It looks like there are, I think, chinch bug issues, and I know there's some sod webworm problems out there. Lots of them.
Yeah, that one's not a bad one, but it can be.
It can be.
Yeah. In fact, this year, what we've noticed a little bit more with it, and I'll be able to show some pictures and stuff here in just a minute. But what we've noticed is that they're kind of getting into the landscape and everything else. So people are treating the yards, but they're right there in the landscape. The adult moth is.
Okay.
And they're covered in that landscape. They're not being treated. So what happens is they go spray their yard, and then next thing you know, those insects come out and they start laying eggs.
Laying eggs again. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, we've had some of that, which is it's part of it. It's part of it. So
well, I wanted to ask you something about that because I I had mulch in my yard on all my beds. I raked it out and put some new mulch in. But as I was raking it out, I saw a lot of these little moths, little kind of brownish yellow moths. Could that have been the parents for the
adult? Yeah.
The adults?
That it very well could be.
Okay.
Yep, very well could be. They're kind of a tannish or a cream kind of color almost.
Yeah,
They can kind of go a little bit on the darker side, but yeah,
maybe 3/4 of an inch.
Yep, that's exactly right.
All right,
3/4 of an inch, and we've got I've got some. We've got people bring in samples sometimes. It just helps to get your hands on it and feel it. And they always say, oh, can you come out to my house? And I said,
no.
If I did that for everybody that called,
you wouldn't have time to sleep.
No, I wouldn't have.
You'd have to clone yourself.
Exactly, and that's not going to happen. My wife wouldn't appreciate it. So,
well, how does the life cycle work for those webworms?
They have their larva stage and everything that kind of overwinters. And since we really didn't have a winter this year, it kind of they've got an accelerated population. Okay. And so what they do, they develop into go through the metamorphosis, develop into an adult, which is their moth stage.
Right.
And they'll go out and, they'll fly around for a little bit and they'll get where they want to be, which typically what they like to do is eat that turf grass.
Right. Okay.
So they're going to get in areas, of your landscape and places where they can hide and even in the lawn. And that's where they start repropagating themselves in a sense and start laying their eggs. And then what happens is you have that larva come on out. And that's where you get the damage that starts.
Okay.
Some of the severe damage kind of looks like somebody who just kind of went and mowed the area, but left.
So they're cutting the blades. They're actually cutting the blades and eating the blades.
Yes. And I've got a good photo of a lady that brought in like a transition area.
Yeah.
And it looked like, it was mowed. And then here's these tall leaf blades on the outside. But on those leaf blades, you could see little half moon cutouts.
So that was the okay.
Yep, and that's kind of something that's really neat. We've got. In fact, I've got the photo of that here that we could pull up and look at, and it's kind of neat. You can see right here. You can kind of see those. Those curvatures in that leaf blade right there, and that was some of the longer leaf blades, and you can see probably about where my pinky is on the bottom down there. That was the area of the grass next to it. That was the height of that grass. So,
about 4 inches, maybe?
I told her, I said, please bring in some transition.
Yeah.
The good and the bad, kind of in that area. And she brought me about a 1.5 to 2 square foot, piece of sod.
Yeah.
And it was perfect. And that's what it looked like. And the next thing you know, I was kind of searching around and digging around, and I kind of saw this little thing in there. And you really have to kind of get in there because what they do is they take that leaf material and they put it around themselves.
Oh, really? Okay, so that's how they hide in there.
They protect themselves with all this leaf material so they can't be harvested by either birds or anything else, So they get in there and you kind of got to dig around for a minute, and then eventually, if you disturb it enough, they'll kind of come out, and then these little
looks like a little mummy or something.
Yeah, a little green worm that comes out, and that's what's in there, and that's what's feeding on that turf grass. And you can see,
what is that? About an inch long?
Oh gosh, not even that.
Not even an inch.
About a half an inch long.
Okay.
And they get in such great populations, and think about it. We always say that the larva stages of anything are kind of like the teenagers. They eat. That's all they want to do is eat.
Been there.
And they're there. They want to eat. And in fact, you can even see in I can't remember if it was in one of these pictures or not. But you can, that one didn't have it. But there's some debris that's in there sometimes that you can actually see. It's their excrement.
Okay.
Because they eat so much, it just goes right through them. Yeah. So, but that that's one of the good things about it, and that that's really the that part of it.
Well, do they have just like one group per season? I mean, do the female lay the eggs and then it's just one, or do they do it more than once? I mean, in a year.
They can have multiple generations.
Okay.
And in fact, when we don't have a very good winter like we have, and then it starts to get hot, conditions get right, grass is stressed, then you could have 4, 5, 6, 7 generations sometimes.
Wow.
Just and that's what happens is that their population accelerates and they can do damage overnight. And the neat thing about these guys is that they come out and feed at night.
Okay.
So they hide during the day, and then they come out and feed at night.
So you can't see them.
Yeah, so you can't see them.
Okay.
So, how do you get rid of them? That's the first, how do I get rid of them?
Right,
That's the
exactly.
first thing everybody wants to know. And there's a couple of different approaches, and there's literature out there and publications through A&M and everything else. And one of the approaches we've been kind of offering is the active ingredient carbaryl.
Carbaryl?
Yeah,
Okay.
which is like 7. And there, there's
got a
that one.
pyrethroid.
Yeah, it's 7, and then there's a one called 8.
8?
Yeah. There's all kinds of products out there that have carbaryl in it. That's kind of my point.
But bifenthrin and
there's some permethrins and
Turcam.
Right, all these other kind of products.
Right.
If you want to go more of a natural approach, you can go something with like bacillus, BT,
Right.
worm killer. That has its own kind of treatment that's kind of fun, I guess you should say. You've got to stay on top of it a little better.
Okay. Yeah.
But when you have a major infestation, we always teach in everything we do, integrated pest management.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Yeah, you and I talked about that before.
Yeah, we talked about that. And, so you've got these tools in your tool belt.
Right.
You got to decide when to use them.
Okay.
And if, how expensive is it to replace a lawn?
Yeah, well, it's expensive. And I know people have 2 years, 3 years in a row have had to replace their lawns.
Man. Yeah, and you don't want to do that. So you got to make it a change, or you got to do something to minimize the damage. So
what would be the first step?
The first step, number one, identification.
Okay.
And some people they don't recognize it. They misidentify things. In fact, a lot of times when people call us at the office, that's what happens.
Where they say they have brown patch or take-all patch.
They automatically assume. And there's times where they have maybe a little of both or maybe several different things going on.
Sure.
But it's all caused by stress, whether it be environmental or self-imposed.
Right.
They love it to death.
Right, yeah. Too much fertilizer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's a lot of things like that happen. So, we have to take a lot of different things into consideration. And I'm writing actually some training manual or a training program just for the phone room so they can help. Because a lot of our master gardeners have never been really trained, and we've never had a full accelerated training session with turf grasses.
That's true.
And that, unfortunately, or fortunately, I should say, it's my specialty.
That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah, I try to do the best I can. So it's trying to link it all together so they understand that environmental factors are a part. Time of the year, temperatures, other external things. Why does this happen? Why does that happen? So and it's knowing the plant's response also is another indicator. The general botany of the plant.
Right.
How's it form? Where does it grow from? And knowing all those types of things, and you can put everything together, and it can be really easy. There's only a few things that go wrong with turf grass.
Okay.
Externals are insects, diseases, environment they're caused by environment, and then the homeowner.
Right. and I guess you have to gauge which one is the most critical. Yeah,
exactly. And everybody kind of giggles when I go in there and start asking questions because okay, well, what did you do to it?
Yeah.
But most of the time you can sit there and you can work through a few things and through protocols and everything. You got take-all patch.
Right.
You got grub worms. You got sod web worms. Each of them have a different time of year, time of season.
Right.
Types like that. So, and we'll talk more about that, here in a minute. We'll get into some of the treatments, how to treat these guys and what we can do for them.
That sounds good.
Mr. Daly, I really appreciate you being here. I love working with you, and
I do
we have
too,
a lot
buddy.
of fun. So
yeah, we do.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back in a moment.
Relax with a cup of joe or your favorite drink for the Conroe Lake Conroe Chamber of Commerce Chamber Chat. The show airs on the first Tuesday of the month at 11 a.m. on Lone Star Community Radio. Join hosts Courtney Galley and Brian Bondi as they chat about the Chamber's events and programs for the month and invite Chamber members into the studio to talk about their upcoming events and businesses. Learn about your Chamber with Chamber Chat every first Tuesday at 11 a.m.
Our talk shows and music shows are looking for sponsors. Want to expand your brand awareness? Reach the hyper-local audience in Montgomery County? Lone Star Community Radio sponsorships accomplish this. Want to see our stats and rates? Check out irlonestar.com/sponsor for more information, or call in and leave us a message at 936-647-3776.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. I'm here with Michael Potter. I'm the horticulture agent for Montgomery County. Here with Mr. Bob Daly. How are you, sir?
I'm wonderful. How about you?
Just doing as peachy as can be.
That's great.
Staying busy.
That's great.
I know that one thing, I've already got chores worked up for me when I get home this afternoon.
Oh, yeah.
You
Me
know?
too.
Yep. I'm going to be digging out some areas to try to allow some more drainage.
Yeah, yeah. I'll be doing that, and I'll be picking up all the pots,
The
and
debris.
stuff, the debris, everything I got out there.
The
So,
projectiles. The garden
Projectiles, right.
projectiles. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, I'm going to be doing that as well. It's just one of those things that, hey, we live on Texas coast.
That's right.
We get
Gotta
hurricanes.
expect it.
We get things.
You know, we've been getting a lot of calls from people who are all upset about the storm, but those people have never been through a hurricane before. I've been through 10 of them. It's like, okay, it's just another hurricane.
I tell you what I've learned over the years. 2 to 3 days after a storm, it's the best fishing down on the beach.
You're right. Yeah. Okay.
So there's
Maybe we
good
can
parts.
plan to go down
there. You go.
Yeah.
I'm liking that. There's good parts about it. These we were talking earlier about these side webworms. They're how
Yes.
devastating they can be. And typically what happens is people notice it kind of looks like it's suffering from drought a little bit.
So the grass looks a little crispy.
Yeah.
And
And then, and if they do the next step and they go out there and they start walking through it, they start to see these little moths fly up that we were talking about. Then, then if they get down on their hands and knees, they can get down and look and see some of those worms. And, if they dig apart and
Right.
kind of look in those transition areas, they can find those worms in there. So the whole thing is they feed at night, the worms do.
Right.
The adults fly around during the day. When you have a major infestation of these guys, it's either risk losing the lawn or kill them where they stand, so to speak.
right, I got you.
So there's some good contact insecticides out there. We were talking about carbaryl is the active ingredient. And
Right.
Mefenthrin. There's a whole bunch of them out there, and they're all labeled, for control of these guys. And you just, if you have a question on which one specifically or whatever, call the extension office, 936-539-7824. We'd be glad to help you out. And of course, right now they're probably going to float away.
Right, yeah.
So we may not have to
Or
deal
drowned.
with them, or drowned. Yeah. So it might be a good thing. So anyway, these are contact insecticides, and what has to happen is that ground kind of has to be moist already, and then you in a lot of these products nowadays you can screw them on the end of the hose.
Right,
Spray 'em
and just
out.
spray them out.
Yeah.
It'd be like a surfactant. And
Exactly,
Right.
and that works real good. You just get out there and you spray it out, and what happens? You spray it out in the evening if you're going to use a contact
okay, so they're going to
insecticide.
become active at night. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right.
So if you spray it, and some of these do have residual effect, which means they leave a little product behind, even though they dry out.
Sure.
But it's even more effective if you can get them right when it's fresh too.
Right.
So
And you
this-
mentioned BT, and BT's fine, I guess, but it doesn't have a long-lasting life.
yeah, that's one of the downfalls of
yeah.
some of the organic or the natural type products.
Sure.
And BT is a soil-borne bacteria, and
I've
so
used it for mosquitoes, and you can get it in a at the big box stores. You can get it in a little can, and it's liquid.
That's right.
Just mix it with water.
And they
But-
even the little mosquito dunks too.
Mosquito dunks,
the little
yeah.
donuts that
Yes.
they you can throw them in standing water and stuff like that. So so you can use that BT if you're gonna. And the best thing to do is to spray it on and spray it late in the evening.
Yep.
And then what happens is they come out and start feeding. They ingest it and they basically get a little heartburn they'll never forget.
Right.
Because they will not be alive the next day. So that's one of the best things about it. But the caveat of that is if it rains,
You got to do it again.
that's right.
Yeah.
And then not only that, was it 5 to 7 days later, if it sits in the sun, it breaks down.
Right.
So
okay.
so
You gotta
it's a constant
continually-
process. So then the next step comes in. You got to think about this. Some people say, well, I got them, I killed them, I'm done.
Right.
Doesn't work that way. Did your neighbor spray?
So yeah, you could have a reinfestation right away after that.
And not only that, you could have sprayed and got the larval stages, but did you get the eggs?
Okay. Yeah.
So that's the next generation coming up.
That's right.
So you can miss that. So you've got to do a little spray program
And how long between the laying of the egg and the hatching of the egg? Was it about a week?
Something like that. Yeah, it's like a week or something like that. And so I always 7 to 10 days, 14 days, hit another one. And I kind of offer the same kind of recommendation for fleas and ticks as well.
Okay.
You break their life cycle, you hit the population and
it's done.
It's done.
Yeah.
So most of the time, 2 or 3 treatments and you're done. Just you keep monitoring and using those IPM strategies, integrated pest management. Go out there and monitor and see if you're seeing the adults and then look for the larvae and things like that and look for damage.
One of the things I grew up on in the country, and I figured at one time, well, if X amount of fertilizer, or X amount of pesticide on the directions worked, well, then twice that amount would probably be better. I've learned since then that's not the case, but maybe you want to. I don't know if you want to.
A lot of research is done in these products. EPA and before they ever register anything, they have to have so much data and so much time put into these products. And so what they've done is they found thresholds too. Some of these products, let's say you over apply, and you keep doing it, there's a potential for building up a resistance.
Oh, really? Okay.
So that can be an issue. And that sometimes happens with weeds and things like that, or some weeds are actually resistant to certain things. So that's something we don't want to attack or do.
Right.
So you got to watch that aspect of it. And if it says 2 ounces, 2 ounces is plenty, trust me.
Right.
It's not going to make it any better,
Right.
You're not going to double the strength either.
Right.
And that's kind of what I like about some of these hose-in sprayers. I mean, they're kind of dummy-proof in a sense.
They regulate themselves.
Yeah.
So
So, and most of these products, I had somebody call this last week. It was asking me about one of the products, one of the, lambda cyhalothrin, He said, well, I know it's only 0.02. And I said, yeah, it's 0.02%. I said, that's the effective rate. But I mean, why is it that? Well, that's what they've researched and found out it's the best rate.
Right.
Well, why can't they make anything bigger? Like, this other product over here, bifenthrin, it comes in with a 0.2,
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And each one of them is effective in its own way.
Right.
So, I've been out in the field and doing stuff where you have to mix it by the acre, and it's like grams per acre.
And that's why I think farmers are much more efficient at using it, because it costs money.
Yeah, and they're regulated.
And, right, exactly.
Homeowners aren't. Yeah. And a lot of times in coming from the coast down south, bays and estuaries are very important.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how we rejuvenate our bait fish and everything else that redfish, trout, flounder all feed on, and everything else. And the chain, if you break the chain, then it messes everything up.
Sure.
And so any kind of runoff or anything that affects those streams and rivers and estuaries, that can be an issue.
I agree. I just went down to the Galveston Bay Foundation 2 weeks ago, and they were making a report on the wildlife in Galveston Bay, specifically the marine life and the oysters. And we still have a problem down there because of what's coming downstream.
Over-fertilization.
Yeah.
Yep. I always used to know, certain times a year down in South Texas, I always said, oh, here comes brown tide. Red tide, brown tide, any of those kind of algae type blooms, because
you got all that nitrogen in the
high nitrogen fertilizers, and that was more prevalent down there.
Right.
They're using ammonium sulfate and things like that are much higher. But and that's what happens. It gets rushed off into the storm system and goes out into the rivers and stuff.
Right.
And a lot of people even taking leaf material and blowing it out in the middle of the street. That's always a pet peeve of mine, because
me too.
That's fertilizer.
Yeah, because so it's going down the storm drain. The green grass is going to convert right to nitrogen.
Exactly. And I always said, I don't fertilize. Okay.
I don't either.
Don't fertilize. I don't water much either. I did have a battle with chinch bugs earlier in the week.
Did you really?
Yeah, okay. I sure did. I caught them early. I found one little brown spot out there, and I looked for them.
Hey, on chinch bugs, how do I tell if I have chinch bugs in my yard?
Yeah, most of the time what chinch bugs will start to do is they'll start in an isolated spot. You'll get a little, tan spot that's just dead all of a sudden. And then it just kind of slowly spreads, and it elongates in most cases. And
is it in the middle? Will it come in the middle of the lawn, or?
Yeah, most of the time it comes on the edges or in the hottest spots of your yard.
Okay.
8 hours of direct sun, hot, next to concrete.
Okay.
Those types of places.
That's where they like to.
That's where they like it, because that's the grass that's stressed the most.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's where they start. and they have several different, kind of like larva goes to, gets to an adult. The larvae typically are small and they grow a little bit bigger, and then they go cocoon up and say, "Hey, I'm a moth now." Thank you.
Sure.
Well, these guys are kind of different. They have little different instars and different stages of growth, and so they look different at the different stages.
So it's hard to identify them when you get them down there. Yeah.
Right.
What about grasses? What about the different turf grasses? Do chinch bugs and, let's say, sod webworms prefer certain grasses like zoysia or St. Augustine? Or
I think a lot of times it depends on what's the predominant grass.
Okay.
When you get a monoculture of St. Augustine,
Right.
That's what you're going to have a lot of.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
I don't have very many people coming in and complaining about chinch bugs in Bermuda,
Right. Or buffalo grass.
or anything like that. So predominantly it moves towards what's the common or what's the most prevalent.
They go where the food is. Yeah.
You do have they can affect other grasses, but most of the time it's because we are predominantly St. Augustine. That's where they affect.
Well, treating chinch bugs, would I treat chinch bugs the same way I treat sod webworms?
No, that's a little different. There's some different products in there and everything. The first thing is identification.
Right.
You got to be able to see them or do them. And of course, we do a lot of that at our office where we get people to bring samples in and stuff. And
Right.
we'll talk about that here in just a second. And then I'll also show some pictures of some of the different stages.
Great. Yeah.
In fact, I just took these here a couple of days ago. Somebody brought some in, and I said, "All right, here we go."
You put them under the microscope and
Yep.
took pictures.
And I had
That's great.
I had the whole phone room group in there, and they were flabbergasted.
Oh, that's great.
They were
That's
getting
wonderful.
trained, so we had a good time with it. But we're gonna take another break here in just a second, and then we'll get back to it. And Michael Potter, and we got Bob Daly with us today. We're talking about lawn problems and enjoying the show.
Enjoyed it a lot.
Welcome back.
Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show. With monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776.
Listen in Mondays at noon to hear Conroe news from local nonprofits, businesses, upcoming events, Conroe Park events, news stories, and information that matters to you with your host, Margie Taylor of Taylorized PR. For more information about being a guest, visit irlonestar.com/Conroe Culture.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. My name is Michael Potter. I'm the horticulture extension agent for Montgomery County. I'm here with Mr. Bob Daly.
Hi, Mike.
How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you.
Good. Well, I got my kayaks ready. So if you need anything, call me. I'll come
call
get you.
All right. That sounds great. I live a little far away, but yeah,
That's okay.
Okay.
I might need the exercise.
Right, yeah.
Just depends on where you live, how much rain you're going to get, right? So
Right.
It's really not as bad. 15 inches over 4 or 5 days for us up here is really not that going to be that
It'll
bad.
drain pretty fast,
Yeah.
and but some of the people along the coast are going to have problems. I mean, especially down in your area where you're from.
Porpoise, yeah. Yep. It's, Mother Nature does a clean out every now and then.
That's true.
And that's actually a good thing. That's what
It is, yeah.
That's
right.
In fact, you're talking about the bays and estuaries and everything else. That's
That'll be great for
silt
them,
and things
yeah.
like that. It, gets all that bait fish out there. And
That's right.
I always used to tell my wife when we lived down there, we'd have a big rainfall event and they would release a lot out of the lake and it would come down the river and come
Right.
out and everything else. And I said, you watch next week, this little spot over here is going to go off and people are going to say, oh, the fish are all there. And sure enough, I mean, and
Specks were in.
Yeah, specks and reds, and they were, it was just feeding frenzy time.
Wow.
It's kind of the way it works. So, but we were talking about chinch bugs earlier, and identification.
Right.
That's the most important aspect of anything you do, because what you use for sod webworms is going to be different from what you use for chinch bugs.
Okay.
Different monster,
Right.
a little bit different treatment.
So what would you use? I would have trouble identifying chinch bugs. I mean, how would you identify a chinch bug?
Yeah. The one thing about how they feed, this is kind of important because there can be some confusion between take-all patch and brown patch and okay, what does chinch bug damage look like?
Right.
Even urine spots from pets.
Okay.
Okay. And if you ever seen one of those, it's a dark, tan spot just out in the middle of green grass.
Right. And
that's a start of what
Right.
it looks like actually. I should have probably taken some initial pictures because I don't let something go too long in my yard. I can identify it real quick and get on it.
Right.
So, I saw that spot that kind of looked like a urine type spot that
Right.
I said, okay. So I went over there and separated the grass, looked down, and I see bugs moving. Okay. Now, kid you not, these things are only about as big of a pin, as a pinhead. Some of
Right.
the certain stages.
Uh-huh.
The adults are kind of black bodied and have some white on them.
Okay.
And I actually say if you're looking at their head, okay,
Yeah.
and you go head to tail, it looks like one of the old timey bombs with wings and a kind of
Oh,
a
yeah.
teardrop to it.
Uh-huh.
But I've got a picture pulled up here that's a picture of a juvenile chinch bug. It's we can look at it and kind of see that there's I'll show you here over here. Bobby, you can kind of look at it, and viewers will be able to look at it right there. I've got two photos. There's the same photo. I just blew it up in one side. And you look on the right side, that photo right there. You can see the runner in it.
Sure.
But what you can't see is an insect.
Yeah.
You really can't see it. Now you look to the left where I've blown it up and I've circled it right there. That's one of the juvenile stages.
Okay.
There you go.
God, that's tiny.
So yeah, it's tiny, and so that's the juvenile stage, and then you got these guys here. I'm hoping, it probably won't work on there. All right, but here's the adult stage. You kind of there you see right there.
Wow.
It looks like a little bomb.
It
doesn't
does. Yeah, it does.
The Acme bomb from the Roadrunner show.
Yeah.
So that's what it looks like, or a reverse Darth Vader. I don't know
Okay.
because that's kind of what happens. They get in there. They have an enzyme, and when they feed on these runners of the grass,
Yeah.
the stolons, that enzyme gets in there and it like clogs it up. So
Okay.
it restricts movement of water, nutrients, and take-all patch does the same thing. It's a fungus, so it has kind of a similar mode of action. It chokes it up too. But these insects, they can explode. Populations can just go, especially unnoticed.
Right.
And especially being so small, I mean, that's kind of hard to identify right there.
I would have trouble.
Yeah.
What do? Take a white sheet of paper? I mean, how would you do that?
Yeah, that's you can do it that way, but really, the old method, which we used to be using a hollowed out tin can, like a big coffee can, and kind of pound it in the ground. Unless you have a clay soil and it's real dry, it's not going to work. You need to have a little bit of moisture there so you can get that can in there.
Right.
And then you fill it up with like a soapy water.
Okay.
And what typically will happen is these insects will float to the top because they're irritated, and they'll come up to the top and you'll see them swimming around. Not
If
for
you
long.
see a bunch of little bombs swimming around in the top of the can, you know you got chinch bugs. Okay.
Right. You need to do an eradication program immediately. So a mine sweep, in a sense. So, but yeah, these guys right there, that they'll get in fact, this was probably a 10 by 10 piece. And within I just about a 4-inch square area where I looked, I had in this picture 2 adults, and there were like 3 or 4 of the smaller stages, instar stages.
Tiny little.
Yeah. And so there's enough of them in there that are feeding on that turf grass that are causing that to die back.
Right. Okay.
So
and they'll kill the whole stolen.
the whole runner,
The whole
stolen.
runner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They will. And so that's one of the things you got to be careful of, and these guys are, it's a treatment deal. You got to get the right product.
Right.
And, bifenthrins and the lambda-cyhalothrin and there's a permethrin. I mean, there's a couple of different specific products for this one that are different from, treating sod webworms or anything else.
Sure.
So, and most of the time, the homeowner is not, hey, it's my job.
Sure. Yeah.
Bring it to me. Let me look at it.
Yeah.
Take pictures. Sometimes I can diagnose from pictures. Send it through email. Our master gardeners have an email.
Right.
mcmga9020@gmail.com. And
that's the name of the road.
there you go.
That's
9020.
yeah.
That's the name of the road.
9020.
Airport Road. Yep. And, just those types of things, and typically what I do is when I get those pictures or something, yeah, I've got questions because I need to narrow down and say, okay. In fact, we had a lady bring in some samples yesterday. She left it in the garage for 3 days. And I was sitting there and I was like, okay, now how do I go about with this sample? How do I go about and diagnose it? Because it makes it even more tricky at that point. Yeah. And I always tell everybody it's like CSI for plants.
Well, that's what it is.
Yeah,
basically that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. So, I have to ask questions, what do you use for fertilizer? What kind of weed treatment program do you have? When was the last time you watered? How much do you water? Do you water enough? Do you water too much? And so there's a lot of things, when did you treat? What did you treat with? Right. So, sometimes they know what they have, but they treated with the wrong product.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So, I'm sitting there looking at the sample and I'm like, I need a fresher sample. Mm-hmm. I do. I mean, simple as that.
Yeah. They put in a plastic bag, Ziploc bag, fresh, bring it to you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I've had oven pans. I like those.
They don't bring any cookies with them.
No, they don't, unfortunately. Yeah. The other one was had a gentleman about a month ago bring some in a shoebox.
In a shoebox.
Yeah, and he said, "There's something wrong with my grass." He sat down and he opened the box, and I was like, "Yep, there they are." They're running around all over the box.
They're still there.
Yep. So it's just something that's easy. It's easy for us, but it's not so easy sometimes for homeowners, and that's our job. Yeah. Our job is education. Our job is to give you the right information, education, research-based information.
And that brings me to another question. I was giving a talk, and some lady asked me. She said, "Well, how much does it cost to go to get my plants done?" And I think that's a question some people have.
Yeah, they don't realize it's paid for.
It's free.
The only time we charge for anything is when we do some educational events, and all we're trying to do is get some supplies, maybe for coffee and snacks that we provide, or if we're having to pay for a speaker. That's the only time we ever really charge for programs or things that we do. There's soil tests that can be done for lawns and things. Sure, that's a charge because that's something that goes to College Station. Right. We can do some pH. We have a pH meter up there. It's kind of on the blink right now, but we have a pH meter that we use. Right. In fact, Miss Crum this morning.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, she told me that it's fine. She said that it's working just fine. So
okay, well, you can take her word for it.
I guarantee you. Yep. So and in fact, I know they had a couple of turf questions this morning through the office, but we can do pH, and that's about all we can do at our facility. The plant diagnosis, that's something we do, and there's ways to do it. And so, our master gardeners, if they don't know it, they'll find it.
And people could drop in anytime, right?
Anytime, 8 to 12, 1 to 5, Monday through Friday. Certain holidays and everything that county offices are closed, we're closed, but 8 to 12, 1 to 5. We also have, plant sales during certain times of year. Right, you can check our website, the Master Gardener website at CMGA.
There's a lot of good information on that website too. A lot of articles and stuff that Master Gardeners have written.
That's correct. And we're still continuing to do those things. We got those open garden days twice a year that we're doing as well. Yeah. And that's a good chance to come out and see what we're doing. We've got turf grass demonstration going on right now with Celebration Turf Grass. Right. Just how to look at it. I just got through talking to the area manager that's out in that area, and we're talking about doing an irrigation test. With a zoysia.
I'd love to see that. Yeah.
Well, the thing was today, he left a message for me yesterday, and I really didn't get around to it because we had so much going on. But he wanted to find out how we're going to do this test because there was 3 different soils. And I said, okay. He said, we were going to do one with a rotary sprayer, one with underground, and one with nothing.
Okay. Yeah.
And then, so we're sitting there looking, and I was like, well, the best thing to do is to do 3 blocks that in each area.
In each area,
because that takes away the soil difference.
Right. Yeah.
So we worked on that. So we're gonna look at maybe some underground, above ground.
Oh man, that would be nice. Yeah.
So
you get a lot of data from that.
That's right.
And I don't know anybody's ever done it.
Yeah. In fact, they're not going to. Nobody's ever compared it to see what it does. I pride the fact that I don't have an irrigation system at my house.
Right. I don't either.
Yeah. But if my lawn needs watering,
I'll get out with a hose.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the only time you'll see me out there. That's right. The only thing I did mess up not too long ago.
What did you do?
I didn't watch the news. I got out there, and the next thing I know, I said, "Oh man, I got some hot spots out there that kind of turn a little, off color. I said, I better water those spots. I watered. Next day it rained.
I was
like, doggone it. I just wasted water. Need to practice what I preach. I should have watched the news. Yeah, but it's one of those things, there's some things I've seen recently that are kind of interesting. And, we've dealt with some take-all and stuff like that. And that's something we can talk about. And also want to talk a little bit about brown patch.
Brown patch. You said something about that.
Brown patch and large patch.
And large patch. Oh, okay.
Yep.
I never heard of large patch.
That's right. And it's funny. It's going to be an interesting little topic there. When we come back, we'll talk about that. We thank y'all for listening. I'm Michael Potter, and I'm here with Bob Daly today, and we're talking about your turf grass.
Attention movie lovers, The Ticket Stub is a new radio show servicing Montgomery County that is meant for you. The Ticket Stub is available live every Thursday at noon on FM 104.5 and 106.1, as well as anytime on OurLoneStar.com. Connor and Dick will let you know what's coming out in the theater, what is worth streaming, and what's going on in the world of film. The Ticket Stub, your home for movie talk.
Don't forget to download the Lone Star Community Radio app for your Google Play or Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM. That is Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1.
All righty, welcome back. Michael Potter, the horticulture agent from Montgomery County. I'm here with Mr. Bob Daly.
And Mike.
Hello. We do need to go fishing again.
I'm ready. I am ready. We'll wait till this rain comes through, and then we'll
hit it.
Yeah, we'll hit it.
One way or the other. So either that, or I'm going to get the kayaks and we'll just troll down 45. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll figure it out. But earlier we were talking a little bit, about chinch bugs and how that, how to control them, how to identify them and everything.
Sure.
And the whole thing is, I just want to express back to the public, if you think you have a problem with your lawn, just call the office. We can kind of walk you through it. If we can't figure it out immediately, most of the time we'll say, hey, can you bring in a sample to us?
Sure.
Or provide us some photos, and that helps as far as.
Well, and you can identify it pretty well, because I know I brought some stuff in, and you immediately put it on the microscope. You knew exactly what it was, which is really good.
Yep. And I've got a little process and everything I go through, and it depends on the time of the year. I just have a knack for knowing what's going on.
Of course.
And then plus too, with the phone calls that come in, that's an indication of what's going on. So, we always talk about this. The common term is brown patch.
Right. You were saying something about that earlier.
Many years ago, it came up that they changed the name. And I kept,
from or to?
Yeah, they changed the name from brown patch to large patch. And I kept saying, now some research student somewhere had to have some funding, so they changed the name.
Yeah.
But actually, I did a little bit further research into it, and what we found out is that, brown patch and large patch. Brown patch is a different strain of Rhizoctonia, which is the actual strain of
the fungus.
Yep. So each one of them has a different strain. Okay. And what they also found out is that brown patch, with what they're calling brown patch, and that's why the name changed now, brown patch affects cool season grasses. So that'd be like Kentucky bluegrass.
Bluegrass, yeah.
Some of the, those other types of that we don't grow.
That we don't grow here. Yeah.
No, it'd just be brown. Exactly.
Dead. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we got large patch, which affects the warm season grasses.
Right.
So, and that's
St. Augustine and Zoysia
and Bermuda as well.
Bermuda.
Yep. Yeah. It affects all of them. And that large patch, I keep saying brown patch too. I got to catch myself every time pretty much for years now.
I never heard of large patch until you mentioned it.
Exactly. So here we are, large patch. And what that is it's a fungus that affects the growing point of the turf grass, which at the growing point, it's at the very base where it grows, right there at the meristem. And it's kind of at the connection point where it connects to the stem. Okay. And what happens is there's a little bit of moisture in there, and that fungus gets in there, and it's got the right conditions, it grows, and it basically rots that grass. Okay. So it causes an area of like wet. You know how things just get wet, especially after a freeze, how it just gets like slimy.
Yeah, mushy and slimy, yeah.
And that's what it does. And so during certain times of the year, in the early spring or even in the fall when we have cooler nighttime temperatures,
right,
you can actually take these dead or brown pieces and tug on them, and they will separate from that point.
Oh, okay.
Because they're already mush, and so they don't have very much,
Right.
So, and that's the way you distinguish actually between take-all and brown patch and large patch.
And large patch.
So
Okay.
large patch, it separates easy,
Right.
and then take-all, you try to pull it, it doesn't.
Okay.
And the whole thing is it's called leaf firing. So the outside leaves actually die first, and then it goes to the inside.
Okay.
And there's some other little indicators.
This is for large patch.
Yes, sir.
Well, on large patch, if when the fungus attacks that grass blade, then that grass blade will die, and it can't provide any more food for the root systems. And so, is that the process?
Yeah, it's kind of the process. The difference between take-all and brown patch are kind of different.
Large patch.
Large patch. Here we go. See, I've been trained wrong.
Me too.
Yeah. So large patch, you're gonna against take-all. Take-all takes everything.
Okay.
It dies back. I mean, the leaf blades. I mean, the leaf
It'll take
fall
the
off
stolen
and
and
stolen.
everything.
With large patch, you have some green grass still in there.
Okay.
It's affecting the most outer portions first, and you'll still have some green in there, but it'll be brownish or sometimes even a yellowish brown color, and especially in St. Augustine. So it doesn't affect the grass in the same way. And then 9 times out of 10, when the weather changes or the environment, the moisture level changes, it makes it go away. And a lot of people, and a lot of people say, it's time for treat the large patch.
Right.
So we go out and we spray a fungicide.
Right.
And so you spray that fungicide, and all it does is stop the spread of it. It doesn't cure it. It's always going to be there. So, so that's one thing homeowners need to know is that, change the environment, do some aeration. You can use fungicides as a preventative as long as you get it beforehand. So,
well, you mentioned something one day about peat moss or something.
Yeah, for take-all patch, you can apply a very light coating of peat moss. That's a 4.4 pH material.
Okay.
Yeah, and what that does is that'll slow that fungus down for take-all quite
really
down.
okay.
Yeah, it'll knock it
fungus
back.
likes a higher pH, so yeah.
Yep, and so that helps it tremendously, and that'll help it rebound. It's not a complete cure for it, but it does have some effect.
Won't affect large patch.
Okay. No, won't affect large patch. Because it's inside that leaf blade. It's protected.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you get rid of large patch?
You just leave it alone.
Leave it alone. It'll come back.
Yeah, just leave it alone. I've got areas where I've kind of thrown some compost out and done some things like that every year they have the same patch.
Right.
Or maybe it's a low spot that it occurs in. So you just change the environment there. That's all you do. So
but it won't kill your whole lawn.
No.
But take-all patch will.
That's correct. Yeah, take-all will take it all. And take your money too.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. All righty. Well, we're just about out of time and everything, and enjoyed being with you again.
I've enjoyed it a lot.
Yep. We have fun doing it. So you guys, remember, if you got any turf questions and everything, please call the office, 936-539-7824. Got Master Gardeners there from 8 to 12, 1 to 5 every day of the week. Be there to help answer your questions, bring samples by, and thank you for listening today. You're listening to Lone Star Community Radio.
Thanks for checking out this podcast of Lone Star Community Radio, Montgomery County's community radio station. If you enjoyed this recording, make sure to check out our past shows online at irlonestar.com or their respective video or podcast formats on YouTube, Google Play, or iTunes. If you have any questions regarding the show, either it being about sponsorships or questions for the host, contact the station manager at dick@irlonestar.com or call the station at 936-647-3776. This show was recorded in downtown Conroe, Texas at the Lone Star Community Radio Studios, and Lone Star Community Radio reserves all rights to this recording and images.